Imagine you have Otto Hightower, and you bring him back just to do this. Welcome back, everyone. We are here to talk about House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 2, Queen's Landing. And if you look on IMDb, this episode has a 9.5, but you would never know that if you went over to Reddit. You would never know. So considering that there is clearly a bit of a divide here between the audience, we're going to talk about this episode. And I'm going to go through some of the things that I liked, some of the things that I didn't like as much, and where that leaves us moving forward into episode 3. But before we get into that, I want to know, have you read Fire and Blood? Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm curious to see kind of what people's experiences with the book and then how they're feeling about this show. For me, I have not read Fire and Blood. I do discuss at length episodes with my editor who has read Fire and Blood and will sometimes tell me some of the differences. Let's start off with the beginning of the episode. Let's start off with Rhaenyra, because I really want to say that I loved Emma's performance at the top. She's mourning Jace and they bring him in and she has this reaction to just basically ask Jace to get up, which I think is really sad. She's talking to Jace as though he's alive and she's asking him what he's done. What have you done, Jace? What have you done? And of course he doesn't answer because he's dead. And when she is forced to confront the reality of this, it just completely destroys her. It feels like the emotion. This is real crying. And something that bothers me sometimes in film and television is when we have people cry and it's like, you know, a single tear. It's something that's really beautiful and it feels very fake. And so I like seeing when characters just break down like this. The way that Emma approaches this as Rhaenyra, I thought was so just gut-wrenching. It moved me to tears. And I was a little nervous when Jace passed in the last episode because I was worried we were going to blame the wrong people for that. And unfortunately, that is where we do go with it. You know, Sheep Stealer becomes the big bad of that situation because Rhaena lost control of her dragon that she just got. And no one knows it's Rhaena yet, but I imagine that that's going to lead to perhaps some of the things that we see happen in the book in a different way. How exactly that will work? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But I did like the emotional beat right off the top. Also, this show is still visually, I think, beautiful to look at. It's clear that they've put a lot of money and a lot of work into the sets and the costumes. Everyone is doing a good job still in this episode and in this show of acting. I think the acting is still good. Now, what people are being given to act, we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll talk about the story and where it's going. But I even think that the script has some really lovely moments. I liked the scene between Daemon and Rhaenyra and their conversation when Daemon comes back and Rhaenyra's all holed up in bed and Daemon's trying to get her to get up. I thought that we get a lot of amazing moments between these characters. The scenes themselves, if you're taking them outside of the context of everything that is led up to this moment, I think are fine. I don't really have any issues with that. There are some issues, but overall, the scenes themselves by themselves are fine. I also love that Daemon comes back. I love Matt Smith and I love watching him act. So I was very delighted to see Daemon return more in this episode. I know he was in the last episode, but he was only there like a little bit. But this, we get a lot more Daemon doing stuff. And even though I don't think Daemon is the best character, I love how messy he is. And I just think that he's interesting. So watching Matt Smith portray him is fun for me. We also get Corlys coming back. He is retrieved from the sea, no longer MIA. We found him. And something else that I really loved in this episode was this beautiful moment where we have him connecting with his sons. He has his 2 bastard sons. And he actually says, you know, I don't have much right now. I got like nothing. I've been completely messed up. My place has been messed up, but I have my name. That's all I have to give you. And I love that it's that idea of he's finally fully accepting his sons and they are going to be truly his sons and truly accepted. And I love how Bela says that little bit about how it's not really that her grandfather is ashamed of them, of his children. It's more that he is ashamed of what he did, which ended up leading to them existing. And so that's the guilt that he carries, but she wants to make it clear, it's not about you guys. You guys aren't the problem. He's actually proud of you guys. So him giving them his name, I think it's a beautiful little circle. And what it's made me also realize is how much I like the Velaryons in this story. I really like the Velaryons. I like them more than the Targaryens, I think, which is unfortunate. But that is kind of what the story lends to as well. I think even in the book, I think the Velaryons are just a nice, tight-knit family who are kind and good to each other for the most parts. At least that's how it's presented in House of the Dragon. And the Targaryens are messy, messy, crazy people. That's not how they always were. And I think there are more to the characters than just that. But it's kind of what we've boiled it down to at this point, where we are in the show. Speaking of that, let's transition to some of the things that I took issue with, because there were some of those in this episode. Namely, Alicent being chased around by Lord Jasper. That was one of the moments where I was watching this episode that I went, what am I watching right now? What is happening? Has Alicent not been through enough? And when I started House of the Dragon, I thought I was going to be Team Rhaenyra. And then at one point, I got pulled over to the side of Alicent. And now I just feel like I am being tormented and I want to get off the ride a little bit. And seeing Alicent in this position, even though I've had issues with her as a character throughout the story, like just in terms of the choices that she has made and thinking that this is terrible and this is awful. I think actually when House of the Dragon works best is when we actually see the flaws of people just as them being humans, and we see how these personal slights have accelerated and evolved to a place where it's really just led to this huge messy war where people have lost a little bit of what connected them to each other, this part of them that was more human, and they become monsters over time through all of the bad things they do. And we are kind of at that point where I don't want to like participate in all of the terrible stuff that's happening to these characters. And I know that Game of Thrones has that happen a lot in the show that we did originally based on A Song of Ice and Fire, which I have read, I think, almost all of those books except for one. But there are motivations behind it, and you can understand what's going on. And with Alicent and Lord Jasper, I don't even understand why this is happening right now. Why is this happening? I understand him coming and saying, I know you went and you have been trying to get people to just open up the door for Rhaenyra. I heard you were whispering about that, and I've come to take you in. But why he's all of a sudden like, and I know you were with Sir Criston Cole, and now I'm gonna try to... No, I don't need that. She's been through enough, please. Please. Just in the last episode, she's been through enough. Can we give Alicent a break? And I love how Olivia Cook has even said when she's handed the scripts, she's like, I wonder what terrible stuff they're gonna do to me, because yeah, that's where we're at right now. And I don't think we need it, but here we are. We're going to talk a little bit about the way that this show, I think, also portrays women in a moment. But first, let's take a pit stop to talk about Helaena. Speaking of another woman in the show, Helaena has become a totally different character. Wasn't she traumatized from what happened to her kids in the previous season? Remember when we had the funeral procession and they had to convince Helaena to even be a part of it because she was so messed up from all of that? In the books, I believe she's really messed up. And that's the only reason that Alicent even stays in King's Landing and doesn't just run away when Rhaenyra comes in, because Helaena is locked up in her room and she won't leave because Helaena is so messed up from that experience still. And in this, Helena's like, well, whatever, let's go raise chickens. What? I know that this isn't necessarily the life that she chose for herself, and I understand that in this show, she never really wanted to be the queen, and this was all put upon her, but it just feels like such a stark change to everything that we saw her go through in the previous season. Like, all of that stuff has been erased from her mind. And I know that Helaena is a little flighty, her mind is a little bit more light and airy, and it's not the same as every other character. But this feels like such a change. It feels like character assassination to me. And Otto returning only to have what they do there, which I know that's how it goes as well, I believe, in the book, sort of. But they really gave that death absolutely zero meaning. In the story, Otto is the first to go because of everything that he's done. Like, all of this happened because of Otto Hightower. He's a character that I love. I love to hate him, and I also even love to cheer for him at times, because that's how good of a character Otto is. And also, we had Rhys playing him, who does an amazing job, and they bring him back only to take him out in the place of Aegon, as opposed to it being, no, we're doing this to you, Otto, for everything that you have done. Let's not forget that back in season 1, Rhaenyra was suspicious of this guy back then. And yet we see none of that remembered here in season 3. Instead, Rhaenyra feels this deep regret over having to do this to Otto Hightower, you know, the father of her former best friend when she was young, and she almost can't even do it. She's crying and she's upset, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't be upset, but I'm just saying, think of everything that you have known this man for in the past. Think of all the manipulations he has been a part of, how he's torn your family apart. Where is any of that? It seems like we've forgotten all of it. Never mind forgetting the characters that we've lost along the way here that have died. Jace just died, and I know we want to blame Sheepstealer for that, but let's not forget that the whole Battle of the Gullet happened because of a plan that came from Otto Hightower. Now, I'm not saying that Rhaenyra would maybe know all of that, but Otto is very much tied to the Greens, and I think that's enough of a reason for her to have a little bit more fire in her belly when she's faced with him again. I don't love seeing Rhaenyra say that she wants to be the queen and wants all of these opportunities to fight and to prove herself. And then when she's put into a position where she has all of that, she shies away from it at every turn, and she cries and she doesn't want to sit on the throne. It's like we're saying that, like, women are strong, but like a different kind of strong. Women can just be strong, by the way. They can fight, they can participate in battles, they can be leaders. And I'm not saying that no one should ever be crying. In fact, I praised Emma's performance at the beginning of the show for the tears that she shed and how real and raw that was. But what I'm saying is, you know, it feels like we're reducing these female characters to being so one note. Like, Alicent is this victim, and that's all she is, and she's been manipulated her whole life and taken advantage of by men. Rhaenyra is a woman who wants to lead. She's got a soft heart, she's got a weak body, but like her mind is sharp or something. She can have both. I think that would be fine. I don't know what we're doing anymore. And then also Aemond's character appears in this, and I don't even understand his actions. I feel like we've reduced Aemond Targaryen to just, Targaryens be crazy, though. That's his whole character now. He's just a crazy Targaryen. He goes into Harrenhal. These people are like, we don't want to fight you. Look, you can be here. You can take whatever you want. The whole reason that we're here, we just want to live. We just want to live our lives. And just as when Daemon came in, we bowed to him, we'll bow to you. We have no allegiances to anyone. We just want to live. And Aemond's response is, I'm going to kill everyone. Why? Because he's crazy. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. And I know that the idea is that everything that's happened to him has led him to this place. But it wasn't that long ago that he took out his nephew, and he has that gasp, that face where you see that realization of what he's done. And it was clear that was never what he intended to do. He meant to scare him. He did not mean to kill him. And now it's like he's just a cold-blooded murderer, I guess. That's where we've got. So when I talk about Aemond being one of my favorite characters, and some people think that's crazy because Aemond is crazy, I just want to acknowledge that I think it's the show that made him that way. I don't think that was always the intention of this character, at least not what I saw from earlier on in the show. So I don't know where we're headed with this entirely. I think I know where we're going based on what I've seen us set up. I mean, I think we're going to get some more dreams in Harrenhal, more nightmares over there, this time with Aemond. And I think, you know, we're going to be heading towards some stuff that might be weird with Rhaenyra in King's Landing. I don't really know how all of that's going to play out with Alicent now also being there. And will we get to see characters have agency? Will Rhaenyra get any agency only to have it taken from her in the next scene? I do not know. I hope so. I want to remain optimistic, but we'll have to wait and see where it goes. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode. I'd love to hear where you're at. I'll see you down in the comments. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye. And if you love when I talk about House of the Dragon, you love Game of Thrones, we do that here. You can check out more of that content over here.